With Jeremy Corbyn now likely to lead Labour into the next general election, I think the party will struggle to get anywhere near the 30% of the vote they got in 2015. So does that mean a Tory government for the next decade is inevitable? Under our crazy electoral system, the answer is probably yes. Just consider for a moment one single example from last year. Nigel Farage's UKIP got 3.8 million votes. That's 12% of the vote, and yet they only got one seat in Parliament. Ed Miliband's Labour, on the other hand, got 9.3 million votes, despite the bacon sandwich, and that's 30%, roughly 2.5 times UKIP, and yet they got 232 seats. Our first past-the-post electoral system has had it. It worked when British politics was dominated by two parties. Go back to 1951, 97% either voted Labour or Tory. But those days are long past, and the system now looks both ridiculous and anti-democratic. It's no wonder people are disillusioned with politics. It's time for change. It's time for proportional representation.
It would probably be helpful, Greg, for viewers, explain how PR, proportional representation, actually works.
Well, there's different systems, and I think you need a group, some sort of committee, something to analyse which one you want to adopt. But basically, you can still have constituencies, but then you say, OK, they only got one constituency, but actually they got 7% of the votes, so they're entitled to this number of extra members of Parliament. I mean, the problem with the system is, you know, we are getting to the stage where you're going to get just over 30% and you're still going to have a majority, and that's ridiculous.
But for years we have operated on first past the post. I think your point is very well made, how it's changed from the 50s to where we find ourselves now, not least with the slew of parties. And clearly it was palpably wrong for UKIP to be so underrepresented. But isn't this effectively just a manifesto for muddle?
No, I think it's a manifesto for coalitions. There's no doubt about that. Under our present system, it would be coalition. But I happen to think the last coalition government was rather good. I think it's better than the current Tory government. In the end, you're saying to people, what's the point of voting if actually I can't in any way, because I don't happen to support the candidate who's likely to win in our safe seat, I have no.
So you're a Labour supporter in Sevenoaks, right? So you know they'll vote blue if it's a donkey standing in Sevenoaks. With no respect to Michael Fallon, who happens to be the Conservative MP for Sevenoaks. That would actually mean that would mean that a Labour supporter in Sevenoaks, his or her vote would count then.
Yes.
So how would you then choose the MP for Sevenoaks?
No, the MP was for Sevenoaks. Under one system, under the top-up system, the MP for Sevenoaks would get elected.
So Fallon steps forward.
But then you'd have another list of people who were chosen by the party.
This will take months,
right?
Who's in charge of this? John Shelcroft?
It can be done. It's done. We do it in the European elections.
Well, I don't know that we necessarily.
If you look at every change in recent years, I mean, we've introduced the London Assembly.
Yep.
We've introduced the Scottish government. We've introduced the Welsh government. They're all on PR.
Yeah.
Because it's a fairer system. And now the first past the post system, you could argue worked for many years.
And it served us well.
But it served us well. But as the votes for the two main parties disappear, and as more people want to come into politics of different parties and different persuasions, it doesn't work anymore.
No, but the only votes disappearing are the votes for Labour at the moment. So,
well, the Labour Party only the last election got 30%, one before 29%.
Well, let's see what happens in the next election.
But if you take the Tories, they got 36%, 36 point something percent of the vote, and got a majority.
Well, a very slim one at that.
Let's see. The team have actually applied your logic. Let's look at a couple of illustrations here. This is, as you rightly said earlier, Greg, this is the general election result from 2015, and there we see the numbers. Conservatives 331, Labour 232, and as you pointed out, UKIP rather unfairly, some might argue, 1. So applying one of the proportional representation system used across much of Europe. There are many, as you rightly said, but this is what we would come up with using your system. So here we are. You can quite silly see Conservatives 242, Labour 208. UKIP 80, Lib Dems 47, and so on and so forth. So UKIP are the kingmakers. Now, for some people, that will put a shiver down their spine. I personally think it might be quite healthy.
Yes, in those circumstances, they might well be the kingmakers. And you might not like it politically, or we might not like it politically. It's not the point. It's just about democracy. And in the end, you've got to say, what the referendum, I thought, showed was that actually, when people think their vote matters,
Counts.
they
come
turn
out.
out.
Yeah, because the last time they had an opportunity, and then I'll stop with all the figures, because honestly I'm just spewing figures like I'm ill here, but the last time people could get involved with the AV, the alternate voting system, what was it? 41% of people. Do you think people care, Greg?
No, it's not that they don't care, it's because they don't understand.
Okay.
So I would come... It happens very rarely, Greg, but on this occasion I agree with you. I know, I don't know what's going on, and I'm going to have a lie down when I get back.
I think I agree with you about egg fertility.
That's hormones. But I think it's outrageous, actually, that UKIP can get 4 million votes and have just one seat. If PR was positioned across that, they would have had 83 seats if that was working there and then. Now, the problem is with the AV vote that we had, people don't understand it. No. And I would even say now, even when we talk about proportional representation, single transferable votes, party line lists, people don't get it. It's confusing. But now that people understand, and so when you had this vote in 2011 or wherever it was, if you now use the example of UKIP and use that as an example, is that fair that 4 million people can have a view, agree with it or disagree with it, I don't care, but you can have a view and only get one seat off the back of 4 million? That's disgraceful. And now people would understand that actually, because of that, the system needs to change. Yeah. One of the flaws with, and you mentioned Belgium earlier on, and I was looking into this, Belgium, they have PR, and in their 2010 elections, it took them 541 days to form a coalition.
Oh,
so that's, what, 18 months?
That's 20 times the length of Sam Allardyce.
Yes, that's 18 months that that place was essentially, like, ungoverned because they couldn't get their act together. So that's one of the flaws.
Well, hang on, you're saying it was ungoverned. Were there big crises in Belgium?
No, they just didn't have a government.
They just didn't have a government. Actually, carried on running perfectly happily.
No,
is that what you're advocating?
No, I genuinely...
What chance have you got of PR when... wasn't there a referendum against it already?
Whoever is in government...
won't give it up.
No, they won't do it.
Right? I mean, I remember...
Turkeys don't vote for Christmas.
No. They want their seats in the back of the Jaguar, the bums in the back of the Jaguar. That's what they want. But actually, there's a large enough... Well, maybe it's not a Jaguar in your brother's case, but I mean...
It's a Range Rover.
It's a Range Rover, but it hasn't
armoured for very good reason.
Has it still got that pledge on the side, the one that says...
Is it
350 million.
Yeah, that one.
I'd like him to keep that on his car, just so he can remind people what he said. This is getting a bit... This is getting unfair.
Will we ever get PR, Greg?
Will we ever get PR? Yes, because at some stage... I mean, you should have had it from... the coalition government. I mean, the coalition government did have...
They tried, they gave up on trying to get PR,
the coalition government did have the support of more than 50% of the voters, because more than 50% voted either Liberal or Tory, and they came together. Yeah. Now, I think that will happen again. There will be a moment, actually, when everybody against...
with Nick Clegg.
No, what will happen? No, Cameron did. No, he agreed to have a referendum on the alternative vote system.
He did AV.
But what you really need...
Nobody cared.
But at some stage, you're going to see a situation where it looks ridiculous, and it could happen in the next election, that the Tories get 31, 32% and still have a majority.
Do you think more people would vote?
Yes.
Do you think young people would, particularly young people,
yes,
if they thought their vote would count?
If they thought they could get Green MPs...
No, they would.
So they would definitely vote.
If you knew that actually coming out will make a difference, Parliament will represent you and what this country looks like, and it will be as diverse as the people's views that live in the country, you would vote.
Yeah, my final line is look at what happened in Scotland. The Scots Nats only got 50% of the vote, and yet they took all bar 3 of the seats. It's ridiculous. Yeah.
No, that system clearly can't work. It is just the complexity, and we're not necessarily that swift at sorting everything out. And I just think having everything in deadlock wouldn't be that healthy? Well,
people will make those arrangements before the election, won't they? I think it will. But anyway, I think
having a government might work
it's about fairness in the end, and actually this system isn't fair.
Let's campaign and make it happen.
Right.
Me and you, Greg.
Right.
We'll get a campaign book.
Well.